Hey, welcome back, everyone. Hey, so tonight I want to continue on with what I had started on last week, which is a project called XAMLTest. So, for those people who maybe aren't familiar with it or missed last week's stream, it is a sort of a unit testing framework designed for being able to test effectively XAML related elements. So the purpose that I've built it for is largely around the material design and XAML project. I wanted a way of effectively being able to test my styles and templates, which is not something that's realistically easy to do. Normal unit testing techniques don't play well because you need a UI thread, and anything that kind of requires rendering sort of requires you to actually get a full WPF app up and running to actually see things working. And that was really problematic, obviously. Normal UI testing frameworks are a little bit inefficient for doing kind of microscopic level testing because they often want to go through like the accessibility APIs to simulate user input and user interaction, which is fine if you're testing an app. Not as great if what you want to do is verify that, say, your style triggers are appropriately firing when you expect. So rather than kind of fight with the UI testing stuff, I decided to roll my own library, and that's what we're going to take a look at. So I'm also trying something new tonight. I have background music. We'll see how it goes. Yes, royalty-free background music. And more importantly, Mountain Dew. That was the wrong way. Mountain Dew. So let's take a look at this project, and I'll catch everyone up on kind of where we left off. So for anybody interested in the project, let me go to GitHub. And whoo boy, that is. Last I checked, plus zoomed. Okay, so if we look at XAMLTest, this is the library here. Oh, and of course my chat bot is off again. I was playing around with stuff earlier and clearly messed it up. So 1 second, let me get that guy. What? Back on screen. There, much better. I will have to take a mental note to go back and fix that because I keep playing with my streaming setup and leaving it in all kinds of states of broken. So this is the project here, and there's a little bit of stuff around here. And what I've done so far is say, I'm kicking out full releases, but it hasn't gotten to a 1.0 release. So part of my goal is to actually get a full 1.0 release out the door. And I've been using the material design project to effectively kind of test everything through. So the basic API of how this has worked previously was you would go through, you can spin out a basic test here. It creates a window, it dumps some XAML content into that window, returns it back to you. You can query the window to pull out its elements, going through the visual tree with various things, either the name, types, etc. Very XPath-like, but not actual XPath. And it pulls out this iVisual element, and you can do things like query its resources, get all of its properties, that kind of thing. And what has bothered me most in the past is the visual element API itself doesn't give any sort of hint as to what's available to it. There's a couple methods on it called like get property, which are great for sorry, I'm trying to turn off my AC. Which are great for being able to query arbitrary properties, but it just takes in a string and you can feed it whatever string you want. And given that most of the time we know the type of our visual element, I wanted to have some sort of strongly typed way of going through and doing this. So last time what we did is we created another interface from visual element that was iVisual element of T, where this T is expected to be some sort of UI element, so a text box, a button, that kind of thing. And then what we end up with is once we have iVisual element of T, if we go down to the bottom here, we can start doing things like this. So on button, I can, well, maybe that's not a great one. On button, I can do things like is default, is pressed. And this is just basic queries, not doing a lot of stuff, but just enough to prove that, yes, these things exist. The problem is generating out all of these methods is a lot of work. And more importantly, I ended up generating them as extension methods because that's what all of these things are. And to do that, I went the source generator route. So I've got this XAMLTest generator project, and it has a source generator in it. And its purpose in life is to look at a target project, in this case the XAMLTest one, and more specifically the ABCDEFG. This guy here. It goes looking for this generate helpers attribute, and any type that's in here that it finds on one of these attributes, it'll generate out all of those extension methods, basically looking at that type and then just walking the type hierarchy, pulling off all of the stuff. The problem is the source generator, when it's generating those extension methods, it doesn't know what a valid extension property is, because in order for this whole project to work, what it ends up doing is starting up a WPF app, putting your content inside of there, and then kind of doing that two-way communication back and forth between the WPF app and your test. Those two things are running in separate processes, which is great because now you've got the full WPF UI framework. It's a legit app. It's just a lightweight app that's easy to spin up and dump arbitrary content into very quickly, which is perfect. That's what I was looking to be able to do. But because of that, when you call get property on something, it has to effectively serialize that property, send it back to your unit test, and re-serialize it on the other side. And some properties are very easy to do that with. All your primitive types are easy. There's easy type converters to effectively go to string, then back out. But there's not always easy things for other things, say brushes or full-on visual elements. So there's a little bit of this, we'll call it poor man's remoting, for lack of better words. For doing that communication back and forth. Under the hood, it's using protocol buffers to do that communication back and forth, which was great. Part of the fun with this was learning protocol buffers and how awesome that is. You can search my other streams for XAMLTest if you want to see building a lot of that out. But now what I wanted to do is actually go through and write tests. Specifically, I wanted to write a test against every single one of those extension properties to verify that they work. At a bare minimum, I want to be able to just call the get method on everything and say, verify that I can call the method and the thing doesn't just blow up with an exception. I want that much to at least work. Obviously, there's always going to be types that could go haywire on me. Oh, and I see that my little stream element thingy, bobber, is moved out of its little hole. Back in your hole. So there's always going to be something that can go wrong, but at least getting the basics so that the simple happy path works and building those tests out. Because these extension methods are generated with a source generator, I had initially gone down the path of reflection. And so I just was like, well, all of these things are inside of my library. They're just extension methods. I generate them with a type that ends with generated extensions. So it kind of makes it easy to hunt it out. And then just iterate over all of these things, build them up, and just start iterating. Now, there's been a couple problems I ran into so far with it, in that it tries to, the XAML it tries to dump onto the window is just control name with a name of thingy, and then it, retrieves the thingy element back out. Certain things are not valid in effectively the root level element of a window. For example, you can't just put a context menu at the root level of a window. That will cause a XAML parse exception. So I've kind of run into a bit of a problem with that, and I wasn't too happy about this, and figured, get it working first and circle back. The other thing I ended up doing is a lot of properties, there's just not reasonable ways to serialize them back and forth. And most of the time, they're properties I don't care about. And so I started building up, for my source generator, a big list of types that say, well, if the properties of this type, just ignore it. We aren't going to fight with it right now. And there's a huge long list. Some of these I'm going to go back and fix because I want them to work. For example, context menu. That's a very reasonable one I want to work. But I want it to not necessarily do the same type of generation. I need some sort of type mapping back and forth, because this library has the concept of all of your visual elements should be an iVisual element of some kind. That's really what this one needs to be. Same with like styles and things that are like input element or UI element. So this was working, and this reflection test doesn't quite pass all of the things yet. And I was going to keep poking at it until I'd gotten through every single one of these, largely by either fixing it so that my library supports the property, or by going through and making it just ignore the property. Both are valid options, but that was being kind of slow. And I realized I don't really like having one unit test to do all the things. The biggest issue I run into with this is once I've gotten several of these methods working, and I can drag this over. So the last run I did took 5.6 seconds. And that sounds long for a unit test until you realize how many methods it executed in that. It executed hundreds, which was great. It's kind of what I wanted. But what would be even better for me is if I could actually generate up a test class that, or generate up the test for each of these methods, the whole class and everything. And so I figured these methods were generated with source generators. Let's solve the problem with source generators. So if I can generate the method with a generator, I should be able to generate the test with a generator. That's my working theory. That's where I was going to go tonight. So for anybody who didn't catch the stream last week, go ahead and last week's stream. Here, I keep saying last week's stream. Here, let's do this. You can find it on Twitch, but Twitch only keeps them for so long. My YouTube channel, the previous one here, has all of last week's stuff on it. So, huzzah. But what we're going to do now is take off on this source generator. So standard source generator project, haven't done much with it. Source generators are net standard 2.0. They have to reference the fancy write NuGet packages. Your source generator needs to have the generator attribute and implement iSource generator. And that's where we begin our story. So step one is figuring out what exactly we want to look for to know what to test. So I'm not entirely sure how to go through and do this, because effectively what I want to generate here is I want to generate out, let's see, I don't necessarily, because my intention is to, the source generator needs to be referenced by this project here. So very similar to what this is. Oop, not there. I'm going to need to do this. So just to get it in. So XAMLTest, and then this is going to be unit test generator. And same thing there. And this is what it takes to actually include a source generator into your project. So that's great. This source generator will run whenever this project gets compiled. Great. But what I need to look at in this, so I want to generate into this project, but the source of the generator isn't inside of this project. It's in a project referenced by this project. So that's the first thing I don't know how to do. Is I don't know how to get access to the stuff, to the referenced stuff. So before we started off with this syntax notification, and I think that's probably where we want to start again, is register up here, but I think I might just play around in the API in this one real quick, just to try and find my way through it. So, because we can Google, but I always find it more interesting if we can kind of work our way through. So context. So before we did context node and went hunting for attributes on here. So I don't know. Contains diagnostics, contains skip tests. Because I'm not entirely clear, and actually, you know what? It may be better to not even start at this level, but to start all the way up here. Register for post initialization. What does this give me? Generator post initialization context. So what is on that isn't on my first one? Not a lot. And I think that's effectively what... No, this guy has the same... Oh, this one's a little different. Context, because I kind of want to let... Analyze our config options. I'm not interested in config. Though it may be interesting to be able to pass in the name of the dependency rather than just trying to derive it. This is the compilation. So I think this is a fact, because I imagine that here is where we're actually going to get it. Ah, add references. Well, that sounds like what I want. I want to get at the references. Oh, look at that. References, yes. Let's see. Directive references, get metadata reference, remove all references. So let's just see what's on one of those thingies. Let's see. Path or name used to identify the reference. Great. That tells me pretty much nothing about it. That does not tell me a lot about it. Yeah, path or name used in the error message to identify the reference. That's great. So let's do the Google approach here. So C# source generators, get referenced assembly. Yeah, that sounds like what I want. Yep. Some bits are project reference, some bits are can only depend on the It's not quite what I'm looking for. That's not what I'm looking for. No, I'm not. Well, let's check their cookbook. There's a lot of samples here that can be rather helpful. This is not quite what we're after. File transform generator. Yeah, because this is just bringing in XML, augment user code. Great, we kind of want that. And I'm actually even okay if I can. So let's start with this. So we're going to come over here and we're going to start up in here. So, and actually the one thing I want to grab from this one before I get too carried away is this. I like having these guys here just as an easy way of stepping into the debugging if we want to. So context, and I kind of want to take a look at references. And I kind of want to know referenced assembly names. What's this? What's this guy have on it? Culture name, flags, display name, public key token, version. I don't think that's going to be quite what I'm after because this is a project reference. So let's do let's start here. Let's start here, and actually we don't even need to do that. So we just come here, and then all we have to do to get into this is force the unit test project to build. So by forcing the unit test project to build, because this other guy is added as a source generator, turns out if you leave code in and broken, it no work. Let's try that again. Yeah, so compiling the unit test project, because the unit test generator is added to it, it will automatically go through and display it, which is great. It's exactly what we want. Come on. Where's my pop-up? There we are. That's what we want. So go ahead and launch into debugging. And then we will step. And let's see. Holy cow. Okay, so just a couple references. So let's go to our immediate window and let's play with some of these a little bit. Oh, I learned a great thing the other day. So on your locals window, there is options for, say, right-clicking and displaying numerics in hexadecimal. But if you turn this on in your locals window, it'll actually change the output that you get on your immediate window too. There's just no, as far as I'm aware, easy way to toggle that from here directly. So let's go with our foo gets references where x, and let's go with display contains XAML. We'll just do that. To list. Foo is not a valid format specifier. Okay, so show me what is on foo now. So cache metadata reference. Not helpful, buddy. Not helpful. Metadata reference. Kind of want to look at that type. No. Okay. Let's just see if we can do this real quick. So let's go with where. We'll do our same lambda here. X dot display contains XAML, and then apply code changes. Edits were made which cannot be compiled. Edit. I don't know what you mean. Stop. What cannot be compiled? I wonder if this is because we were in the middle of the debugging session. Display may be null here. Nah, clearly wasn't. I realize there's probably cases where it could be, or plain. We'll deal with warnings later. Okay, so XAMLTest. Okay, so there's my references, and I kind of want to expand these out. So that first one is exactly the one that I would expect. What's the other one? Okay, so I picked up both of them. Okay, so this might not be that bad. I'm thinking what I might do is I might just hard code some stuff for now. But then circle back with the idea of it would be better to pass the stuff in. Because I'm thinking it's probably legit to go after the assembly, this first one, this XAMLTest DLL is the one up here. It's the one that actually knows all of the types that we want to include. And I'm thinking we just go after it with reflection. I'm thinking that might be acceptable. We could do something I don't know if the performance is going to be an issue. We could do something with like MonoCecil, which is another library that gets you access to that data. But I'm thinking if we just do a reflection only load on it, it's not a bad idea. Okay, so we're gonna hard code some stuff here real quickly. So we're gonna go with first or default, and we're gonna go x dot display dot ends with, and we will, for now this is going to be hard coded. So XAMLTest dot DLL. So we are just going to go assembly reference. We're just going to pull it out that way. And so this will actually deal with the warning a little bit. Make sure that that handles it. And then this guy obviously is nullable. Specify type. So if assembly reference is null, we're going to return. For people unfamiliar with newer C# syntax, is null is slightly preferable to equals equals null. This guy. This is analogous to doing a reference equals to null, where you do like assembly reference null. The equals equals operator is only slightly less preferable, because if you use that in a situation where this type overrides the equals operator and does something horribly incorrect, you expose yourself to that, whereas this is always guaranteed to do reference equality to null, which if you're comparing against null is almost always exactly what you want. So my habit is just to always use is null as much as possible, because it's slightly more performant and has no risk of being overridden, which is great. Okay, so now we want to do something with reflection. So let's do assembly. Let's see, load from or load file. Boy, I'm trying to remember the subtle difference. There is a difference between these, and I don't remember which it is. Load from or load file. Given that, oh man, I cannot remember the difference between these. We're going to start with load from. Let's see. So how about if let's just tack this on here, and oh man, I probably shouldn't do a file exist here. That's just bad. That's just bad form. We're gonna go with it. Yeah, we're gonna go with it. So let's see, XAMLTest assembly. Given that we're hard coding stuff, I'm not going to stress too much about it. There's plenty of failure cases, even with disk IO around this guy. So we're gonna skip that for now. Okay, so we've got that. What we would like to do now is get the attributes, custom attributes. Let's do where x dot attribute type, full name, and then we're gonna just hunt that guy out. So I'm explicitly doing this with strings rather than doing references, because I do not want hard references here, because you get yourself into a bit of a chicken and the egg problem, where if you do a hard reference into this other assembly to get the type, you then have the problem of that other assembly has to be compiled, and so you can start going yourself around in circles. I don't think that would happen here, but I prefer to avoid it. Plus, with analyzers, you are trading power for compilation speed. So effectively, things that you would normally do with reflection at runtime, you can do at compile time, which is awesome. But that does mean that you can hit your compile time performance too. So if compiling fast is really important to you, well, that's what you're trading off a little bit. It's not bad. It's usually minuscule, but that is important to know on the trade. So how about this? So that'll get us our attributes, and then let's just iterate over them. For each var generate attribute in boom, boom, boom. Ditch the var, custom attribute data, and then we want to grab, I think we just, it's a constructor argument, I believe. Yeah, so there's technically two things that could happen here. There's also a namespace that could get specified, and we'll probably want to write some tests over that, but for now I think we're just going to go after the constructor arguments first, and we'll go with var target type. Let's see, target type, argument type. Is that just a system type? It is. Lovely. That is exactly what we want. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna make a few assumptions here, and the nice part is if any assumptions that we make go wrong, it'll get caught in a unit test, because this thing is going to be generating unit tests. So if it messes up, it'll generate a bad unit test file. The unit test itself hopefully fails, and away we go. Okay, so there is that. So let's figure out real quick what we want the end result of this to look like. So I think that's probably an important thing to figure out. So TestClass, and we probably want to do something like public. So this isn't going to stay here. This is just going to be our template to work from, because when I'm trying to figure out what to generate, I usually like to have nice IntelliSense to go along with it. So generated button tests or something. We'll figure out the exact naming, but it needs to look something like that. I think I want the test context generated in there. I probably want to bring in this guy, because he's going to get generated. And then I want the test initialize and test cleanup. So this is the one thing that starts to differentiate this a little bit. So just like when you write, say, integration level tests, unit test, it's all about making sure you're testing a small isolated unit. But once you start doing integration tests and there's multiple things at play, sometimes the normal unit testing principles of only test one thing in each test, and don't start using conjunctions in your name because you're probably getting too big. With integration tests, which is more or less what this ends up being, you kind of want to do that, because if you separate everything out and adhere very strictly to unit testing principles, you're going to tank your performance. Especially in this case where we're about to generate a whole bunch of tests. I don't want to spin a new instance of a WPF app. That's starting a brand new process every time. That gets expensive fast. Not overly expensive on my machine. It's maybe a few hundred milliseconds, I'm guessing. So, but regardless, I probably want to spin that app once, run all my tests inside of it, and then tear it down. So in the interest of that, we are going to do the app spin up and tear down here, and then we will clean it up once. So then I think down here, generate tests, right? So this is what we want to actually, this is going to more or less be constant for us. And then we can build out down here. So let's see. This is going to end up being something like test method, public, and it's going to be async task because all of the methods are async. How about can invoke button is or how about can invoke, we're already inside of a button test, is default returns value. So it'll look something like that. Inside of the test, I want to do more akin to what gets done over here. So, and I might even go to the effort of generating out the comments because I like them so much. So So we'll do something like this. The test recorder, its purpose in life. Oh, and this is actually a bad test. So recorder dot. Come on. Hello. There we go. Let's see. Success. So if anything causes this to throw an exception before it hits the success call, this guy just grabs a screenshot, which is great. That's exactly what you want in pretty much every single one of your tests. So I just wrap all of those up, but I want to go back down here where I stole that from because clearly I did not build out my own tests correctly. It's one of those pieces that I would love to automate away. I just haven't found a solution I like yet. Okay. And it's not a big deal if it fails. It just means you end up with extra images, and that can start to slow down things like uploading your build artifacts at the end. So you don't want to capture too much data, just enough. Okay, so here I think what we're going to do is we're going to do actually something more. The actual window generation, I think we're going to change out for something that looks more like this. So, and this is going to end up being, and I think this is where we might fix like the context menu option as well, where we let this string be a little bit more variable, and then get element will be thingy. We should probably change this to be something more like test button, because thingy, though funny, is not overly specific for what it's worth. Okay. Testing for not null is kind of meaningless here because this thing will throw if it can't find it. Yeah, so let's get rid of that. And then I know X unit's going to complain, but I think what we really want, or this is an X unit. I think what we want is something more akin to this. And then rinse repeat. Right? Because obviously we need to get a default value here, something here. That seems reasonable. I don't know what reasonable defaults are going to be, but this is I think what we're looking to build out. So let's move you over just so I can see what all the using statements are that are related to this. Okay, so this is what we're going to build. So let's start with that. So unit test generator, and we're going to generate one of these things inside for each of these attributes. So let's start here. So string builder. Let's build that guy out. Okay. And then at the very end, I believe it's something like context add source or something to that effect. It's like add source todo.cs. We'll have to change that, and then sb to string. So in all of this, we'll just use a string builder to build up one big honkin' string, and then away we go. So given this, so sb append line, and then we are going to do big huge string. So paste. Great, so that gets me close. So we're gonna do this. That gets close. That gets close. That's all fine. That's all fine. Okay, so here's the stuff that's not fine. So we're gonna do gotta escape some quotes in here. We're gonna deal with we'll deal with the bad paste formatting here in just a second. Get that in there. Okay, so it's gonna look pretty much akin to that, I think. I don't see any reason not to. I don't know why it indented all those. Kind of prefer if it did that. Okay, so drop that comment. Okay, so first thing we want to do, trying to decide, because I can put this here. The problem is that means I now immediately have to go and start escaping every single one of these. That's probably okay. I don't know which way. I think I prefer one. Yeah, let's escape them. I think I like seeing this kind of as one big unit. Yeah, I think I like this better. So that there. So for those people who haven't seen it before, the double curly brace is how you escape a curly brace inside of an interpolated string, which is the ones with the dollar signs. Okay, so that gets me into there. We can clean this up a little bit, but ultimately we have to replace it with test-specific stuff. So this is going to be a little bit of throwaway work, but that's fine. I want it to look right, so when we're changing it, we end on the right result. Okay, so couple things we're going to need. The first one is here, generated, and I think what we're going to do, is we're going to start with, I'm going to move generated into a namespace rather than as part of the class name, because I think that's a little bit cleaner. I'm wondering if it makes sense to go deeper on the namespace. I guess in my case, I don't need to worry about type collisions. So specifically, when I say type collision, say we've got two button classes that are in two different namespaces. If I name this just based on the type name, that opens me up for collisions where the full name would disambiguate. But this is just an internal generator for me that no one else should be using. Given that, I think I'm very okay with just going with name, because if there's a conflict, I'll deal with it then. But to date, nothing in my list, and we can confirm that. But I don't believe there are any dupes in this list, right? Window, button. Yeah, because most of them are in the System Windows Controls namespace, and then the primitives namespace. There's nothing there that doubles up on by name, which is fine. So we'll do that. So we will just put it in generated. This will end up being, say, button tests, which is fine. Builds this up. Okay, now I think we need to probably break this guy up into a couple sections. So specifically, this ending here is going to, we're going to end here and end. We're going to end the first append line here. And then I'm going to just comment this for the moment. And then there's going to be another append line here. And that gets closed there. And I can do like that. Okay, so this guy here, we now need to iterate over. So once I've gotten that, maybe I did this wrong. Maybe rather than going after this target type is not a great idea. Maybe I should go after the generate extension methods class instead. That might be better. Basically, hunt this guy out of here. Yeah, let's do it that way. That might be better than going after the other one. So we don't need the attributes. What we need is, let's see. So this changes out to XAMLTest assembly, get exported types, find me the ones that end in generated extensions, and then extension method, let's go with classes, like that. For each type, let's go with extension method class, and then here we're going to go with let's see, so this is and this is why that attribute allows for a namespace, because right now I don't have a type name collision, but you can use that attribute on your own project with your own custom controls, and maybe you have your own button class in, my company namespace here. Sure, great. That's fine, but you will need to specify a namespace if you use the attribute to disambiguate. Which, sure, it's in its own namespace already. Your test namespace should probably mimic that anyway. So I kind of want to do something like string target type name gets extension method class name, and then I want to back up the length of that string and go to the end. Is that legit? Oh, I can't use... Boo! I can't use range and index here because I'm in a net standard 2.0 project. Ugh, not without bringing stuff in, and I don't want to bring stuff in just for that. Yuck. Okay, we'll do it the old-fashioned way then. Do it the old-fashioned way. So, extension method class, name dot length. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to start at 0, and we want to go to length minus. Let's do const string suffix. Boom. That, because I don't want to think too hard about the length of this. Suffix. So name.length minus suffix.length. And there may be an off by one error, but we'll deal with that in a minute. Okay, so there is target type name is now redefined. Okay, so down here, we want to iterate over the type's methods. So this is actually not too different. Yeah, you'll note how I handled it here. I just did that, which was wonderful. So here, we just did it like this, which is probably close to what we want again. Too many curlies. One set of curlies, please. If I could do a Sean Connery impression, I would, but I am not nearly that good. Okay, so that'll give us our method info for all of the generated get methods. Great. And then we want to build up these. So we can kind of start here. So append line, and we're going to do, let's see. We can do, I think, we can actually probably do most of this in one shot. So do that, and I'm going to just indent, paste, bring. Well, I want the indent to line up with that, so... oh, I don't have keystrokes turned on. Fix that. Show my keystroke. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Good, Karnak. Okay, so we do that. We're going to turn on interpolation. So we get the little highlighty bits there. And then for the method... I think we're gonna do get method.name here. We'll let that be returns value. This works here. This will kind of work for, let's see, target type name, test, and then we can do target type name again there. We can bring this guy down because what's important is that these match. It's not important that it's overly significant. And then this becomes, we want to invoke it here. And I don't think, so, and this I also need to be, ooh, I probably want this to be fully qualified. We're going to start with this, but I suspect I'm going to run into a problem here. Because I'll either have to load up the using statements up here to handle it. Because you'll note system Windows controls. This will probably work for some, right up until it goes to generate the ones in, say, the primitives namespace. And it won't be there, and it'll fail. So we probably want to get, so let's get string full type name. And I think what we'll do, we'll get this from the get method return type, but we know that this is going to be a generic, so we will get generic type arguments sub 0 dot full name. We'll make some assumptions because this is only intended to be used in this library, so we can sort of work with, and actually to make sure we don't accidentally bite ourselves with that using, let's get rid of that one. Okay, so we want full type name, full type name. We can let this, we don't want this one, we want this one to be a short name, short name, short name. And then this we can do, I kind of want nice naming, so this is going to be, let's do this. So inside of here, we're going to do target type name string variable target type name, which will be, get a copy of this, variable type name sub 0. We'll get char to lower oh, we should do this differently, shouldn't we? So this should be substring 1 and to lower target type name sub 0 plus something more like that. There. Now we have a reasonable variable that we can use here. That goes there. This goes here. Now the other thing we're going to need is the default value for this. I think in most cases the default value for the type is probably okay. Maybe. That's probably okay. So what we will do is we will go with default oh, this is the so hold on. This is the get method's return type. This is not right for here. This is what I want, but I want that for here. String method return type, which is exactly what I want here. this guy, this full type name, needs to be based on this guy up here. Extension method class. And I want to get... What do I want? Do we have anything about... the visual element type? Because this is ultimately what I'm looking to grab. I think what we could probably do is base it on the first parameter. Let's base it on the parameter. It means we're going to look up the same value every time. But I think that's... And let's do string control full type name. So we'll do get method, get parameters, sub-0, parameter type, get generic arguments, sub-0, full name. That may not be completely right, but we're going to go with it for now, and we'll figure that out. It may also bite me with generics, but I don't think we have any generics worth worrying about right now. Okay, so that generates that up. We're going to compare against the default. I think we have debugging still turned on, so let's just recompile our... I've been resisting the urge to Control-Shift-B, which is my instinct when typing. My fingers love the keystroke. But we don't want that there. So, go ahead. 1 hour in, first Mountain Dew down. Sounds about right. Par for the course. Okay, go ahead and build. And then, so this is the pop-up window when you do debugger launch. So I just picked my same instance of Visual Studio. And in we go. So we should find, oh, I've got 2 compilations going. Oh, yuck. So here's what we're going to do. Windows threads. And so put you down for the minute. There's one debugger. Yeah, so 2 worker threads. So we're going to put this one on ice and then continue stepping. So I don't want to deal with 2. So system cannot find the file specified. Well, that didn't work very well now, did it? So I thought that should exist, but maybe it doesn't exist yet. Let's look. So dev XAMLTest, it's right there. Could not, oh, so this is trying to load dependencies, because you'll note system runtime. Okay, so go ahead and kill that guy there. Let's try load file. Oh, reflection only load from. I think this is actually what we want, because we don't need to like invoke or anything. We just want to inspect. Okay, so let's try this again. I think that's what we want. Yeah, because if you don't need to actually like do fancy stuff to it, or with it, like invoke methods, the reflection only load is rather handy. Because then you can just look and inspect and do stuff with it. It is unhappy because something is holding on to it. It is being used by another process. Oh, and there it finally worked its way around. Okay. Okay. Why do you care? Is it not possible to load you without? It must be preloaded or loaded on demand. Dependent assemblies. I don't want dependent assemblies. I just... Okay. So we're going to kill you. Cancel that. And I want to do a quick Google search before I do something crazy like pull in another library. Let's see. Load assembly reflection without dependencies. Let's see. The assembly has reflection only load. Reflection only load from. I wonder if I just need to do get types. Let's try that, because that's, I suspect, might get me where I want to be. The other thing is I've sort of tanked the compile performance of this library. Before I started on this branch, the size of the library was like 360K. Now it's more like 4,000K. So it's a little bigger. Okay, so now I wonder if it was just because I was thinking about it. Retrieve loader exceptions property for more information. Loader exceptions. So there is a bunch of stuff there. But I don't care about these things. I just want to reflect over the types. How can I deal with this? So... yeah, so that is a problem. Oy vey. Okay, so let's see. Avoid loading multiple versions. Consider switching the default load context. Blah blah blah. Because there's a couple things that are all making this hard. I wonder if we switch this. I wonder if it's order of operations. Just, I think this is a bit of a long shot, but because I'm not clear on exactly which of these calls is triggering this, I'm wondering if I can filter things out, because the AND will early exit. And I'm wondering if calling into one of these other things is problematic. Because I really just need the strings out of this guy. I don't need anything else. I don't need much else. Okay, so let's try this again. Because the alternative option is I do something crazy like mono, which will work. It is awesome and wonderful. It's just this is one of those times where I don't feel like I should have to bring in an external assembly to do what I think is simple. Sorry, you didn't hit the breakpoint. Try again. Try that again, please. Going. Thinking. Oh boy, I got two of them. Cancel one, launch with the other. Okay, so run to point. I'm going to try to F11 to see if I get past the get types call or if it's blowing up there. Because I'd love to know if I'm getting inside my where clause. Unable to load. Yeah, so it's the same. Okay. Okay, enough of this. We're throwing in the towel. Come here, mono. We will ditch reflection. Manage NuGet packages. So, for those people who haven't played with it before, Mono CSIL is a wonderful library that is commonly used for IL weaving, but it gives you access to all of the low-level CIL stuff. So it's used by things like Foddy for doing its IL weaving. I use it in my AutoDI library. It's a wonderful little thing. And we are just going to make sure that we ditch all references to system.reflection because apparently that's a problem. So let's just jump here and go with mono CSIL. We're going to jump to the GitHub repo. Pretty please. And I believe trying to understand why there's a separate mono one versus the JB Evan ones. Oh boy, now I gotta look. Which one does the NuGet package come from? Come on, show me the installed projects. Mono CSIL, yeah. This is the repo we want to be in. Okay. And do you have? There was a page for some docs. How to? Yeah, this is pretty much exactly what we want. Open a module, browse its top-level types. Yeah, pretty much that. That's legitimately exactly the line of code that I want. Okay. So we're gonna go there, auto include module definition, and we are going to just go here. So this becomes, so rather than this guy get types, this is going to become this. The where clause remains identical, and we are done. Let's see, so types, this is a type definition, so this is actually wrong. Type definition var use explicit. Okay, so that goes there. Does this guy actually have? Yeah, I didn't think it was. Okay, and let's get rid of this var here because it's bothering me. And we'll go here. Include that. Okay. So that gets me there. So that should work. This guy is a little different now because he is not what we expect, but we are going to do get methods. Boom. This guy here is no longer going to be a method info. It's going to be a method definition, which is slightly different. Okay, and then he, let's see, get method, get, what's the parameters called? Oh, just parameters. Okay, so we'll drop the get, drop the parens. Let's see, parameters, parameter type. And I'm trying to remember, there's something funky about generics. We're gonna wing it and see what happens. I kind of let's see, generic parameters sub-0 dot full name. If this all works right out of the gate, I will be absolutely shocked. Let's see, so generic parameters, sub-0 full name, that'll work. And we're back to compiling. See? Mono CSIL is awesome. Okay, so we're gonna just make sure that gonna compile the analyzer first, just because I mostly trust it to do the right thing, but I don't fully trust it. And let's grab it here. And then we will confirm. Oh, I should have known we were blowing up on the get types call, because if it was somewhere within the where, I would have gotten down to my for each because of deferred execution of the enumerable. Right. So for those people unfamiliar with it, there is a nice thing, and it gets asked a lot in interview questions, specifically around the IEnumerable type. The magical phrase that the interviewer is probably looking for is deferred execution, which means the long answer that they're hunting for is things in an enumerable are not evaluated until you ask for them. Effectively, inside the enumerable, there's an enumerator, and it basically has two methods: move next and give me the current item. And so it just slowly walks forward. For people familiar with linked list, it's very similar to a singularly linked list, one where you can't go backwards. There is technically a reset method, but there's a lot of enumerables that don't reset properly, so it's generally not considered a good practice to expect that to be functional. So realistically, you've got move next and give me current, despite the interface having a couple extra members. But that is what they are looking for. And the fact that if it had been inside of this lambda would not be evaluated until I start asking for items out of the enumerable, which happens on the for each line, not up on this line. This types call, however, or get types as it was before, gets evaluated immediately on this line. Apparently, it didn't think it needed to build. This is one of the problems with the smartness of MS Build, is it doesn't always realize when it needs to recompile this project. It's good, but when you start doing meta level stuff, it gets a little confused. It can only know so much. Come on. Okay, unit test failed to generate source. It will not contribute to the output. Last I checked, you were supposed to call debugger launch. So let's rebuild this guy. Make sure you're hip. Rebuild this guy. This is part of why I didn't want to bring in any dependencies, is because sometimes, so it compiled XAMLTest, which is great, that's fine. You'll note that I've got some warnings in some of the generated stuff that it does. Failed to generate didn't even hit my debug launch statement. I'm sorry, what? I am very confused, so I'm going to close and restart Visual Studio. I get a little paranoid about some of this stuff because Visual Studio, for performance reasons, will keep processes running in the background, which is great, right? It doesn't have to spin a new process every time it goes to compile or things like that, which is wonderful. That's not a good sign. But it also means that okay. What have I done? What have I done? Let's see. An unhandled exception, Roslyn analysis service. I have royally broken something. I don't know what the debugger is going to attach to here. I'm hoping this is the design time build triggering. Hoping. I'm thinking it's lost its mind. Yeah, I think we broke it. Let's kill and relaunch. We've very much done something wrong. I'm actually going to attempt to pop VS Code real quick and just see, file, new window, because I would prefer to not have. I kind of want to comment that code out real quick. Let's see. Sure, that'll be fine. I just want to comment out this line before MS Build gets any crazy ideas about, trying to use it. Okay, so now we're going to launch XAMLTest. We will see what happens. Boy, reflecting on the assembly was not supposed to be this hard. But I have clearly caused major problems. Cancel, cancel. We done popping errors. Cancel. Cancel. I have really broken stuff. Okay, are we finally caught up and happy? I would like to rebuild this project. The project compiles. I would like to rebuild this project. I'm hoping this just works. Okay, so it compiled the main project, which is great. Compiled the test project. And then when it compiled the test project, it threw this. So I have to believe referencing mono Cecil broke everything. This is a bit of a problem. Okay. So I'm going to turn the debugger launch back on. I'm guessing what is happening is it's failing to load the assembly. I'm suspecting that that is the cause. Okay. So then we rebuild this guy. Because the fact that we're not even getting into this debugger launch means that it's not even loading this assembly all the way. Which is not overly shocking, but really annoying. Really, really annoying. Okay, so I think what we do here is we go out to this C# source generator mono Cecil. Okay, so C#. This is not overly helpful. This is definitely on old API. Not helpful, not helpful. Members generator. Okay, so this is fine. I really just want the list of types. Okay, so perhaps we take a different approach. As nice as it would be to have that the presence of that single assembly generate both the code and the test, maybe it makes slightly more sense to have the test project declare the same list. I just don't like it. Ugh, I just don't like it. Okay, so let's test the theory that it is the presence of mono Cecil. Or actually, before we get too carried away, C# source generators load additional assemblies. It gets weird because you're loading an assembly into the compiler's process. And so yeah, it gets a little weird. Okay, so let's take mono Cecil out. Let's go and experiment with the idea that the data lives here. assembly. So that's the assembly being built, which would be the unit test project. We really want metadata references. We know this guy actually has it because that's what we pulled off. But what we noticed is that even though this guy exists, it's also not meaningless, but pretty darn close. Okay, so yeah, so this is where things fall apart. Okay. Let's see, assembly. I'm wondering if we can get away with this. So file, read all bytes. We're gonna try a slight deviation here. We're gonna go back to the standard approach. Let's see, assembly, and this will be then we'll test assembly, get rid of that, and then we got to change some of these guys back. So this is going to end up being a type. This is going to end up being, let's see, get types. Let's see, put get type. This is system.type. Do I not have using? Oh, okay, using system. Problem solved. This becomes a type. Come down here. This becomes a method info, and then this becomes, let's see, get parameters. Method. Get generic arguments. Let's see. Oh, I think I am struggling to remember the subtle difference between each of these. Okay, so that gets me to there. Let's try a rebuild, and then we will kick this off one more time. Okay, and now I should be able to build okay. This should get me to huzzah. Okay, does it load the assembly? It does. Does it let me access its types? Thinking. Or is it just gonna blow up? Man, this is just really frustrating. Unable to... and there's a few thousand loader exceptions of lacking the runtime. And this all comes down to the idea of my test project is using Net5. This analyzer is running inside of the compiler's process, which is not on Net5, which is why it has to be Net Standard 2.0. Let's see. I wonder if I can do this. So let's apply. We're gonna end up killing this real quick. Cancel. Keeps popping the dialog. Okay, so I'm curious what I can do here. So return null. And this is obviously possible to do this. I'm curious if I can fake it, because I don't actually care. I just, and maybe that's something else to look at too, is actually let's put this as a, we'll put it right here for now. I wonder if there is an alternative. We're gonna try that too and see if that gets me past my issue. So we're gonna put a breakpoint there as well. We will build the analyzer. We will build the test project. You'll note up to date, so it didn't recompile, which is unfortunate. We will rebuild it because you are not up to date. Trust me, the analyzer is going to do fun things. We like the fun things. They will be fun. It's the definition of a fun thing. Come on, little buddy. Come on. There you go. Okay, so step. Okay, so we go here, we step. Do we blow up immediately? I'm not actually confident if this is going to let me do it. So that obviously blows up too. Great. Didn't even let me hijack into there. Okay, so that is clearly not worth it. That will not work. Let's see, what else do we got to play with? Sort of imagine that's gonna blow up in the same manner. It's the module that contains the manifest. I kind of wonder if I can get at it from this way. We're going to try this, and if this doesn't work, we'll go with the find types. Okay, so stop that guy there. Rebuild. No. I have to say, debugging these things real time is kind of a pain. Is there a way to turn off? Do Tools, options. I wonder if there's a way to turn off the automatic design time builds. Build timing. So that would fix the don't call part, but we kind of want that. Yeah, not helpful. Okay. So build that, and then we will build the tests. And we will see if we go at it via the module. I don't know if that will make a difference. So inside of assemblies, there can be more than one module. Most people just don't realize modules exist because very rarely do you ever step outside the main module. This is one of those things that's hey Wilk. So actually, ironically, I threw this music onto my stream just before starting, so this is the first time I've ever actually tried it. And the answer is yes. Sometimes I listen to stuff like this, but what's actually being let me pull it up here real quick. So I'm actually trying out a new extension called. I was messing around with options. So this Own 3D Pro, they've got a free and a paid tier. So I started out on the free one just to give it a shot and see if I like it. And some of the stuff that they offer is royalty-free music. So I'm glad it's going well. So they do have it basically boils down to their free music comes from like they've got like a Spotify playlist you can grab or a Twitch stream you can tie into or a YouTube stream or similar where it seems like they just have a constant loop. But yeah, it gets you past the Twitch DMCA. I've been very much the Twitch has sent out a lot of emails recently about that, and so making sure that you are on the copyright free music so you don't get pulled down, very important. I would rather have no music than go up against that because it sounds like there's been a lot of streamers that got hit by some auto scanning bots. But yes, sort of this type of music is what is oftentimes what I'll listen to while coding. I find when I work, I either like music without lyrics or I like songs that I've heard a lot where the lyrics can kind of float into the background for me. But I'm a little weird and actually surprised you. Yeah, like I said, I actually can't hear it. I have it tied into my my OBS to go out, but I didn't get enough time to get all of my stuff set up. I actually have a fun little sound mixer board that I usually plug all of my computers into while I'm working, and so I can dial up all of this stuff individually to get the volume set right. So even when I'm like on calls with people, I'll usually just have my music coming in from another computer and the volume turned way down. So my coworkers find me weird when I've got multiple things coming into my headphones at once, but my head can handle it. Okay. Please work. No, I'm guessing you're going to blow up too. Dang nabbit. Okay, this is getting absolutely ridiculous. And, okay, so we've got one more gamble before I just throw in the towel and say I'm done with trying to do this with reflection and move on. Okay, so let's go with find types. And I'm wondering if this will get me past, because I'm guessing type filter is a delegate type of some kind. What do you, yeah, a delegate. So bool type filter criteria. Interesting. So type unknown Let's see, and we're gonna go here, here, true. Oh, we probably have to do, this isn't one of the well-known ones. Let's see, filter type. Oh, come on, what was that? What was that? Type filter. There we go. That's what we are looking for. Okay, so 1 second, I'm gonna bring this guy over. And we are going to go there. Zebros, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Welcome to the stream. Okay, so okay, so new type filter, type, object. Oh, what are you unhappy about? Am I just dumb? Bool. System type. I mean, I can declare this all the way out. Oh, it's probably, oh, T overlaps. That's why. Because I've got T outside and inside the delegate. Object, foo. Let's see. Really? I just noticed, sorry, I got very distracted. I just noticed the documentation on this. This is the ultimate base class. Nice. Nice. I do like how it says net framework and it came right out of the net standard assembly. Syntax error. Null. I don't care about that. What is your problem? Okay, so static bool find me type object foo just stop being annoying, please. Boom. And return true. So that should get me, okay, I want to get a callback. Ideally, I want to get a callback before this method just blows up. That would be my goal. That seems reasonable. But we've tried enough things tonight that seemed reasonable at the time. If this doesn't work, I'm just going to throw in the towel and redeclare the same list in the test project. Because this is getting absolutely ridiculous. And then worst case scenario, if I'm worried about them getting out of sync, I can write a reflection test to assert that the lists are in fact in sync. That way, if one gets added or removed from one and not the other, I'll at least get the same level of test failure ability. Okay, so we have that. Great, great, exactly. Okay, breakpoint here. Or are you just gonna go and fail? Okay, thrown in the towel. Okay, so here's what we are going to do instead. Cancel, and I'm gonna turn this off so at least those ones stop biting me. We are going to go over to here. I'm going to quite literally copy and paste this entire list. I'm going to leave myself a comment saying something along the lines of, this is dumb. This is dumb, 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 dumb. And we're going to move it over into here. Sure. And we will slap them on here. Yes. Thank you. So yes. So quick synopsis of the craziness that I am attempting. Okay. I'm also dealing with this on my other screen. So sorry. It is getting to be annoying because apparently it hasn't build. Please stop popping that up. I understand you're angry with me. So the XAMLTest project, and I will I will drop a link to it in the chat as well if you want to check it out, is effectively a unit test like framework that I've built for testing WPF styles and templates. Because the material design and XAML project that I maintain is basically a WPF theming library. The vast majority of the code in this library lives inside of styles and templates. And it bothered me that there was no good way to reasonably test those templates besides fire up the app and click through the demo app and hope I didn't miss anything. So the intent here is, as part of the XAMLTest project, I changed up one of the APIs to automatically generate up, and I can find my way into here, for this visual element. I've got a strongly typed version of this interface, and I would like the strongly typed version of this to go through and, oh my word, I need to comment out some of the stuff. The strongly typed version, I want to generate up all of the, I'm just going to comment everything out for the moment. Get this done so then I can think and talk. The strongly typed version of this interface, because say you do visual element of say button, I wanted it to generate a bunch of extension methods for me, which it has conveniently done. For example, visual element tests. Go all the way to the bottom. For example, this. So I can do visual element of button, and then for example, is default is a property on button, and it generated up, and of course it won't let me navigate because the stupid windows are open to the side. It generated up this class for me with a whole bunch of extension methods that use the underlying get property method inside of XAMLTest. And the problem that I ran into with this is it just arbitrarily puts in the T parameter for this. But because the library has to communicate between a running WPF process that's hosting the test and the test runner itself, not all of these types are easily serializable back and forth. So I wanted to write tests that just ran through all of these methods, invoked them, and verified that yes, in fact, at least the communication goes two ways, regardless of what the end result is. So regardless of how well the method works, there's just some types that don't make sense to serialize back and forth. And I wanted to make sure that the extension methods I generated legitimately at least communicated back and forth. That's the test I was hoping to generate. And I am getting absolutely hounded with the stupid design time builders. And I'm going to see if I can just drop them real quick. Visual Studio, come here. You need to stop running MS Build. Yeah, so if you're fairly new to extension methods in C#, they're basically syntactic sugar around a static method. So, and I can dive in and look at one of these a little closer. So they get declared just like you would any other static method. They have a couple limitations in that they have to be inside of a static class. And then the very first parameter of an extension method gets the this keyword put in front of it. And that's what denotes it as a extension method. And then anytime you do a dot off the end of something that matches this type, it shows up like any other method on that type. So it gives you a way of effectively kind of tacking methods on. Now, they're not as good as actual methods on the type because they are still, under the hood, just a static method. So you can't get access to like private fields or anything on them. You still have to interact with it as though you were a static method outside of the object. So it doesn't necessarily break encapsulation. But then it lets you do really convenience overloads type things is where I like to abuse them a lot. And then if somewhere down the line somebody does write an instance method that happens to match the signature, the instance method always takes precedence over any extension methods. So that is extension methods in a nutshell. Okay. It is still popping those dialogues, so I'm going to just restart Visual Studio real quick because that is really getting annoying. I'm guessing I got MS Build caught in a loop where it just fails out repeatedly. Okay, so if we can get down to it first before it gets too carried away, and tell it that the first task it needs to do is get me a new version of that assembly. Preferably one with the contents entirely commented. No dialogues. I think we're good. Okay, so here we were going to do this. So I want to fix this. So we will just bring in the types. I'm going to leave those there for the moment, because the necessity of needing to do these is just dumb. The convenient part, though, is I've already got the code to hunt out that assembly and grab it from this guy here. But we may attack it in a slightly different manner this time around. Yeah, this is doing it slightly differently than I was thinking about doing it, but we will start there. Okay, so back up into our lovely friend. We're going to come at it from here. So we want to go, and rather than context node, I believe we want compilation. And then we don't care about attribute syntax. I believe here, no, compilation is spelled with a P most days. At least the days that end in Y. Okay, so get diagnostics. So I want to look for attributes or similar. We might have to go at it the same way as the other one. That's fine. We'll do it the same way as the other one does it, because I know that methodology works. So I'm going to need a syntax receiver here. Go down to the bottom. And we'll just create a new class down here. That's fine. Inside of the initialize, we register this guy up, which is great. That's what we want. You need to implement your interface. Great. Thank you. And then inside of here, we want to go and hunt out those attributes. Great. Let's see. Format. I think that was the right one. In fact, the rest of the code compiles, means it can't be that far off. Great. Starting to wonder if I should have just done this all along. Okay, so I need the type info out of it. Yep, that's pretty much what I want there. And I need type info. That one. Which one are you? Microsoft Code Analysis type info. See, I'm wondering if I included the wrong one up above here. It's probably okay. One of you down here. Code analysis. Kind of wondering why it didn't offer to. Oh, because system reflection conflicts with it. Let's just drop system reflection, because we don't want that to be a problem anyway. Okay, there we go. So we kind of want to just make a list of these type infos, I think, because this has the, yeah, I think this is what we want. So let's just go with public list type info generated types. Let's just confirm that there's no early exits in here. Once it gets past this return, it's guaranteed to generate something. Yeah, it's going to get added there. So unless something up here filters, which I don't think it does. Oh, it does have ignored types. Let's see, type, namespace, Why is this here? Oh, so this is just duplicated ones. So we don't actually care about that. Yeah, so it's guaranteed to gen all of them. Okay, so that seems fine. So we will just go with generated types. Add in the type info that we found. Great. Okay, back up to here. Now we need to grab that list back out. Which usually we do this. So we come up to the top, we go there, and okay, so now all of this garbage gets thrown away. Don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care, don't care. We go all the way down to this. And this becomes rx dot generated types. And this becomes a type info. And we start building this up. Okay, so step 1. We need to get the name of view. Converted type. That's not what I want. Type. Type dot. What is on type? Oh, I think what I did before to get around this was cheat with string interpolation. There. Horrible cheating. Horrible, horrible cheating. So let's go with string. So we're going to want this in a couple places. Extension method class type. So we put that there. Go like that, go like that, go like that. Boom. And that makes this refactoring a little bit easier because now I can just do this. And you are going to be a non-null string class type. And I must have whacked suffix in my haste to get rid of the other stuff, which is fine because that suffix was just going to be the type that it hunts out, which is the generated bit from the test. That guy. Okay, so close you and back to you. Font string suffix that we are hunting for is anything that has the name generated extensions, because that's the suffix that we put on the static class that contains all of the extension methods. Okay, so that goes there, that's fine. Okay, so then given the class, we want to iterate over its methods. So let's find all of its methods. Type about methods. Members? Get members. That sounds reasonable. Go ahead and do that for the moment, or actually, you know what? We'll just, I don't care to think too hard. And I want X is method. This is an I symbol, so I should be able to do something like of type I method symbol. Yeah, so I only want methods. I don't care about anything else. And so that means that all of you are going to be that, which is fine. Now I want to get your parameters. So what does that look like? Parameters. That seems like what I want. And then on the end of the parameter, I want the parameter type. Sure. And then on the end of the type, I want its generic arguments. Get type members. No. So from the parameter, was type the only thing on there? Let's see. Is optional? Is extern? Containing symbol, containing. I don't care about any of those. So from the parameter, I want the parameters types generic arguments. Here's what we're going to do. We are going to do this and semicolon and toString, and we are going to, we will just hunt it from there. Same with this guy, I think. toString, and we'll just hunt it from there. So, because I just want to debug far enough in to see this, and then we'll hunt it. Okay, so that gets me to there. This needs to not be null. So we'll just instantiate that to a new list. Great. Okay, rebuild my analyzer. Okay. And the debug statement is now turning back on, which means I need to rebuild my analyzer, and then we will rebuild the project and hope that this thing generates. So let's rebuild this guy. Okay, and triggered. Okay, so let's see how we did. Uh-oh, we got 2 threads going. Debug, Windows. I hate it when I get 2 of these things. Where is my threads window? Can't find it. Too much thinking, just go straight to there. Okay, so we are looking for my thread. Here's the other thread, and we are going to freeze it. That way it stops running, and I don't have to think too hard. Okay, so we did get this guy back. We have a list of generated types. There's a bunch of them. First one's window. That seems about right. Perfect. Okay, so let's start walking through this. So extension method class. This is not the extension method class type. This is the target type. So I've put the wrong thing into here. That actually might be okay. Because do we need the extension method class type? We don't. So this guy here is in fact exactly what we want here. The problem being that this will not be the type we want. It's pretty close, and we can derive the type we want, but it's not the type we actually need. Okay, so if that's the case, I want to do something like context, compilation. I want to find a type. There was, my other one did something about this. We used it over here when we wanted to look up types. Context semantic model get type info. That is what I believe I want. Boom. So get assembly or module symbol. I think there must be a get similar, get semantic model, get special type, get symbols with name, get type by metadata, fully qualified metadata name. That sounds like exactly what I want. That sounds like exactly what I want. And this will be XAMLTest, and we'll come down here, because this is going to then be, so underneath that namespace, it will live under target type name. This is the fully qualified name though. So I actually want to do this and do name, and then I want to do suffix. I believe that's the naming pattern that we did here. So this generates, when it goes to do new class, it does, yeah, type.name generated extensions. So we have the type, just turn off the nullability warning, name suffix. So what do you return? Var extension class. So that gets me to there, I believe. So let's catch it there on the next run and see what that gets me to. So rebuild that. And thinking about launching. Okay. There's that guy. Okay, so we go there. Generated type. Target type name, system, Windows, window. So we are going to do just window. So XAMLTest.window.generated extensions, which is perfect. Did it find it? Looks like it did. Okay, so that gets me to there. Let's see, so target type name. This should be, I think, extension class. I think I want this to be, well, for now, that we'll work with it. That's going to be wrong, but it'll be good enough to keep testing. Okay, extension method class. This is the problem, is this is going to go against window, and I don't want it to do Windows type. I need it to iterate over the extension method type. Okay, so let's change this up. So this becomes target type. Okay, so extension class, what can I get on you besides, okay, so extension class is the one I actually want to come down here and do this on. so that'll be fine there. And then this target type name, we actually want this to be let's see. We're gonna just change this out because we can go here, here, name, suffix, test. Okay, so that'll get that a little better. And then from there, I think that gets us pretty close. Okay, so then let's rebuild this one more time. Boom, boom, boom. Come on. Compiling's hard. Part of what is making this compile go so slow is the generator is running on the main project to generate all these extension methods in the first place. So that's part of what's getting us such a slow little bit. Okay, so target type is still window, great. Extension method class, window extensions, great. This is not what I actually want this to be. I want you to actually be we're gonna let this go for now. Boom. So that'll fix that for the next pass. Okay, so now let's see. Oh, it's gonna make me stop and recompile. Dang it. Dang it, dang it, dang it. I'm spending half my time recompiling. Ugh. Ugh. This will be wonderful when it works and miserable to get working. So par for the course. There's a lovely saying that, what is it? If you teach someone or show someone programming, you will confuse and frustrate them for a day, but if you teach them to program, you will frustrate them for a lifetime. Okay, so here we go. Oh, we once again got our dual thread problem again. Okay. Threads, and we are going to take the other one and just freeze it. So you stay there. I don't want to deal with two of you. I'm a single threaded mindset right now. Okay, variable target name should now be window lowercase. Great. That builds that. Extension class get members. Get method. Okay, so the first method it got is get allow transparency, which is in fact a generated one. Okay, so here the parameters, I would really like to get this guy. I want the string for the generic parameter here. Well, we don't actually need it. Control type full name. So we actually have that up here. That is under target type. So we can actually replace all usages of control type full name with just target type. So that will solve that problem fairly effectively. Now, method return type. This is looking for the bool. So this one here we're going to need to figure out. We're still going to need to get ourselves into this state where we can look at the generic parameter. Okay, so that got us a little further. Okay, and so from the return type, we need to figure out how to get its generic parameters or type parameters. Get type members. That sounds kind of like what I want. And I'm just going to assume a 0 element. We might be able to get away with that. So let's give that a shot. I'm going to be tickled to death if I run this and all of a sudden I see my Test Explorer load up a few hundred tests. It'll be awesome. Because it seems slow, but in reality, we've been working on building hundreds of tests all at once. Yeah, because if that works, I think aside from changing this out, this should actually become this string here. Okay, so that gives me there, that gives me there. I don't think I need this breakpoint. We could probably skip it, get method, method return type. Oh, so that did not do what I wanted. So let's play with this. What does get type members return? Length of 0. So that's not what I wanted. So let's try return type. Return type attributes. It's got to be return type. And then is containing type is probably not what we want. Is type is special type. I want to know if it's generic type. Let's see what that is. So it's class, but that's not shocking. So it knows what it is. It just, I don't know how to get to it. What is the type of return type? Let's just go back to the immediate window. Get type full name. Non-aired name type symbol. Okay. I want to extract the bool portion of this. Because you're in there somewhere. I just don't know where. Symbol display parts. What does that do? Wants top level nullability. So that figures out how to display it. I'd love to take a look at to display string. Let's see. You take runtime is unable to evaluate this expression. What is the return type of display parts? Immutable array. What's the first element? Is unable to evaluate this expression. Okay, that is not helpful. I don't know if that's going to get me what I want. Metadata name. Let's see. Gets the name as it appears in the metadata. Alright, so name. Task 1, which is what I want to know at what point it converts this in. This type is symbol. Something in here is able to know get type members. So get members, no. Get attributes, implementation, declaring syntax references. containing symbol. That's not really what I'm after. This can be referenced by name. Sure. The base type, sure. All interfaces, sure. But there's something. Okay, so what underneath all of this, you are effectively navigate type symbol. So we want to know how to get it. I type symbol, generic type, get type parameters. Working with types in your analyzers. That sounds like something I want to do. Type by metadata, sure. Kind of already know the type info, that's fine. But when I have it, once I have it, how do I get to get type parameter infos? That's kind of, as you can see, I type symbol, I name type symbol. So I probably just need to upcast to an I name type symbol. As I name type symbol, type parameters, sub 0. Okay, that gets me to there. Okay, and I think what we're going to do is I'm going to just hard cast that, because if that ends up not being true, let's see. There. Okay. Very, very close. I think we're very close to done. Or at least this close to running. I suspect once this is actually running, there is likely going to be a significant number of test failures. And that's okay. But at least then I will be able to execute the tests one at a time, solve them, and then not have to wait for all of the previous tests to run. Which was the problem with my reflection-based approach here, is it was brittle and didn't work in all cases. And then it also had the issue of it was slow. And once again, we hit our threading problem. Threads, freeze it. Okay. Method return type should be bool. No. Okay. Back over to here. Immediate window. Var typed gets that. Typed. Okay. And we had assumed it was type parameters. Not quite what I was hoping for. So let's look at what else is on here. No, I want to just search here for I realize it's not found, but wasn't that type parameters? I wonder if we want type arguments. Ah, yes, I think we want type arguments. Let's test that theory real quick. Bool. That's what I want. So if I do type arguments to string, I want bool out. Boom. Okay, so type arguments to string. If I just make you become a bool, boom. Update. It's going to make me stop and relaunch. Seems very finicky. The edit and continue is not really hip with all these source generators. Okay. This time. Oh. Before we get too carried away. This name here should end up here. Just to give it an idea of where it's going. Cancel. Let's just rebuild this guy. Build. And rebuild. Yeah, the compiling of this test project is about to get very, very long. But I'm sort of hopeful I can speed it up after I get all of these things working. We will see what performance improvements can be made at that point. Come on, you're going very slow. Let's just run down to here. So method return type is bool. Great. Execute to here. Great. String builder has a whole bunch of stuff. Great. Run to my next breakpoint, which is at the end, which is great. It generated a whole bunch of things. That's what we were going for. Okay. So the source generator is now executing and building up stuff. Okay, and we have failures in what it generated, but type, name, or end of file expected. So we probably have a mismatched curly braces, I'm guessing. Come on, take me to the failure. No, not there. Okay, let's just start with the obvious. Oh, these curly braces are inaccurate because we are no longer inside of an interpolated string. So it was getting too many closing curly braces. Okay. And then rebuild that guy. And for fun, let's pull up the Test Explorer. So right now, the Test Explorer acknowledges 59 tests. And it's doubled over because I am compiling the test project for two different frameworks, both Net 5 and Net Core 3.1. But I expect... Cancel. I don't want to launch the debugger. I expect that if this compilation succeeds, this number should then grow significantly. Rebuild all failed. Okay, so we'll move you to the side and let's look at our errors. A local variable or function name window is already defined in this scope. Boy, I really want to look at this file, please. Let's see, window generated extensions test. We might just have to write this out. So it is. Oh, this is not. Because we've got window here and window here. So this guy needs to be not called window. How about app window? And that needs to go like that. Now I'm realizing this is going to try to do get element window and put a window inside of a window, which is not going to be a working situation. But my thought being that now that I have control of the generation of this, I can put in slightly different arrange and act portions for each of these tests based on the type. That should get me, and this is the wonderful part about this, is if I have a generator generating the tests, I can then be reasonably confident that I've covered all of the cases, because there is no way I want to write tests over the hundreds of methods that we generate. Because that is way too much. And I am way too lazy for that. Because why spend a few hours writing tests when I can spend a few hours writing automation for the tests? Come on. There you go. There you go. Rebuild all succeeded. That is terrifyingly awesome. So it's found a few tests. I went from 59 tests to 9,546. That's a lot of tests. That is a lot of tests. Yeah. Woo! And I'm sure the vast majority of them fail, but oh, that feels so good. Oh, that feels so good. It works. Okay. I think it is well past my normal quitting time, and I think I'm going to stop for the moment. What I will do is I am going to check this in. So get cracking, everybody's favorite. So out on the repo, there's a branch called typed element, if anybody's interested in the code that we were working on tonight. So it is sitting out there. Getting source generator for tests working. Boom. And pushed. Okay, that is out there. Oh, that feels so good. So good. Perfect. Well, I think I am going to sign off for the evening. Thank you everyone for coming and hanging out. Hopefully the background music wasn't distracting and was a welcome change. I'm hoping to clean up some of the other streaming stuff around here. I've been kind of on investing a ton of time in sort of my OBS and streaming setup, but figured I would put a little bit more effort into it and see if I can clean it up and make it sound a little better, look a little nicer, and seem a little bit more, say, thought out rather than just winged. So with that, happy coding. Thank you all for hanging out. We'll see you next week.